Good morning, everybody.
Welcome to MidDay Café.
And we are your hosts. I'm Mike Gannotti with
Tyrelle Barnes.
And today we're not in the same room. We're actually pretty distant. And we've got a packed agenda that we're going to be discussing. But there's a reason why we're not in the same place today. And do you want to talk about that real briefly before we get started?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. We're leveraging our Microsoft technology and doing a remote meeting so that I can travel to the duathlon. It's actually called Diathlon. It's a D'Angelo Williams fundraising, 53 strong, and it's tomorrow in Waxhaw. So I'll be on a team, Shark Bait, and I'll be running a 5K, and then we ride a 56-mile bike ride, and there are 3 time segments. So it's all, for a great cause.
I'm getting hot just thinking about that. It's going to be a hot day out there.
It is. It's going to be hot. We're starting early, though. We're starting at 7 a.m. And Novant Health is the big sponsor. So thank you so much, Novant Health.
Nice.
And looking forward to it. So great to have this option to do this remotely.
That's great. That's one of the things I love seeing with colleagues is all the outside passions and endeavors. And in this case, getting to really do something that gives back and does something good, helping fund mammograms and such, as you were explaining to me earlier. So that's great. And you know what that's reflective of? When we think about our agenda, the first item up is growth mindset.
Yes. And Mike, I'm this huge Huberman Labs podcast fan. So Andrew Huberman is a neuroscientist and ophthalmologist in the Stanford School of Medicine. And I listened to his podcast the other day, and it was a growth mindset. It was all the kind of how do you enhance performance and learning by a growth mindset. And that led me to, our culture and our leadership and changed our culture and transformed our culture by adopting a growth mindset to take us from a culture of know-it-alls to a culture of learn-it-alls, right? Yeah. And so I was just thinking about that when I was, really, and then the first thing I think, and I encourage you to listen to the podcast, it's like 2 hours, but it's really great, impactful. But the things that I pulled out of it were like, for mindset is like a lens or a framework that your brain actually organizes all the information coming in through, right? And so by having a growth mindset, you're basically separating your identity from the challenge at hand or the goal you're trying to achieve, so that you can approach it in like a way that's, you're training, you're working, you're trying to grow this, and it's a process. So you can kind of adopt that process and take that to all areas of your life. So when I think about that, I absolutely think about that when I'm training, when I'm riding, am I improving? How can I get a little bit more, performance out of myself? And it usually comes back to, those kind of pillars of recovery, of sleep and rest and well-being. And so all those things were interesting because that all lends itself to becoming a high performer, but then also a high performing organization.
Well, that's in turn, right? It rolls on up. And I think I love what you were talking about with how it's really this, constant reanalysis and iterative approach, right? Versus you have to have it all done before you jump in. And, I think sports gives a great analogy to that because, constantly looking to improve. You look at professional athletes today, they watch film and other things, not film, it's video now with AI looking at it and identifying points of, minute things to change in a pitcher's motion, et cetera. But at work, that's something I hadn't thought about that, but like, I've been here a long time.
Yeah.
And, people always ask me, you always seem to be doing something new and something. And even though I started out 22 years ago as a technology specialist, I'm today a technology specialist. But it's that, looking at those opportunities within orgs where there's need, identifying where there's a need or something that can be improved, looking for the opportunity, and then not waiting to get it all right and have everything packaged up first, but jump in, get moving, the whole fail early, fail often, but iterate, learn from those failures, pull that back in, and then keep moving forward. And that's something Satya talks about. You watched a podcast, but we've been transforming our culture, that high performance culture, into that growth mindset.
Yeah, and we're always iterating. I mean, it's that MVP approach, right? Minimum viable product that we get. It's like, just get something out there to start with, and then go. Because if you, and I have worked at a company actually that tried to build it all and then, put it in place, and it didn't work.
It fails.
Yeah, it fails. And also how long it takes to try to build something that's like you think is perfect. I mean, you're never going to be done with it.
No.
So yeah, that's so interesting, because I was wondering, because you are always evolving and changing. And I often say that technology is like dog years, but it might even be more. Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, it can seem like that. It seems like I've been working here forever, right? But in reality, well, it's been a third of my life at Microsoft.
That's so cool.
But something else that you just said, and I was just thinking about. Now I'm losing my train of thought. I forget. I was going to say I had something profound, but obviously
the MVP.
No. Just about the whole process of, again, that iterative piece. Oh, and not getting it right. That two things that I see. This was it. It was two that I see orgs, and I've been seeing it forever. And it's nothing new, right? There's nothing new. Tech changes, but people and processes, the same challenges. And one, that idea of analysis paralysis. We got to get everything right. But the second factor people don't think of when they strive for that perfection up front, and I hear it all the time, people are like, well, when we're talking to them about requirements, well, if we don't have this feature and this and this and this and this, then it can't fly. It's a no-go. And I feel like saying, do you even begin to understand the basics of human psychology? Because it's baby steps. It's not only do you not wait until you have everything there, you get the minimal viable product, because then it provides the opportunity for people to more easily assimilate that change management that you're going to institute, right? There's less of a bar and jump to this new thing. And then as you iterate, it's bite-sized pieces that people can readily consume.
Right.
And
absolutely.
We have a suite of things that helps with this, don't we?
We do. The Viva Suite, and we have lots of new options there. And first, I want to get into really what makes a high-performing organization, like what high-performing organizations have in common, because then we can talk about how the Viva Suite addresses these or provides the technology footprint to enable these different features and things. So really, I guess our research shows that high-performing organizations, they drive employee engagement by facilitating that open leadership communication across the organization. And we have a new communication bundle, right?
Yes.
So that's Viva Engage, Viva Amplify, Viva Connections. And then and we actually shifted last year, our leadership shifted to that town hall format where feedback can come in more readily, and it is much more engaging. And then they also practice clear goal setting. So they're making sure that employees are really aligned to the mission and values of the organization.
Yeah.
And so that's an OKR solution called Viva Goals that we have available. It's awesome.
Best of breed.
Best of breed. It is, absolutely. They also build a culture where employees feel a strong sense of belonging and well-being. And back to your psych analogy, I mean, belonging is a basic human need, right?
Yes.
So think about this at the organization level. So that's Viva Engage, which was formerly the artist known as Yammer. So Viva Engage helps employees be able to just, self-express and have this kind of venue where they can do that and build communities that way. Building proactive teams through effective collaboration practices. And so that's enabled by our Teams platform and all of our really Microsoft 365 platform, but then having teams be able to adopt what works for them. So they might have team norms and things that their manager helps, solicit feedback on, so that they have like a cadence that works for their team. Providing opportunities for learning and growth. That's huge. Actually, that's the number 2 thing that employees are looking for after like salary is growth opportunities, career opportunities, for learning. And then giving employees an outlet to share creative opinions, make decisions, and really drive innovation. I mean, I've heard in the past that really your value as an organization is all dependent on how fast your people can innovate, right?
Yes.
And create and build IP. So those are kind of the things that are that high performing organizations have in common. And that brings me back to that, like, feedback, a culture of feedback, right? Which lends itself to the growth mindset. Is collecting feedback, collecting like a different, I guess, what's out there based on when you get that minimum viable product, what's the feedback coming from customers? What's the feedback coming from other teams on that product, and how can you improve it? So that feedback flywheel, we call, so to speak, where you're constantly bringing in data, and then you're adopting that, and you're changing, and then you're reinventing it, and then putting it out there again.
And all those, it's funny because as you're going through, those are all elements that we didn't come up with, this high performance. But yet, if you look at the Viva Suite and that expanding suite, it maps directly on it, which is the beauty. Like when you were just talking about feedback, I think about how we use the whole, we pulse our employees, but we're using that glint capability that a lot of our customers actually already have, right? And we leverage that, not a one and done each year, not even a 2 and done throughout the year, right? So that we continue that it's a continual loop.
Right, it is. And it's Viva Glint, which is our engagement survey platform. But you know what we have now that's another powerful way to collect feedback? Viva Pulse. And it's general availability now, Viva Pulse. And it gives managers and leaders of smaller teams of 9 or more people the ability to do these quick check-ins and take a pulse. And it's still de-identified and aggregated, so they don't know who's responding, but they can take some questions that have been researched and that they know are based in science and non-biased, and they can choose a few and to do a check-in on their team. And it takes like 2 minutes to respond. And then they can see kind of how's my team doing. And I was thinking that you could actually adopt these practices with your team and use that as a way to build a high performing team. And you can start now. And you know what, Mike, what's really interesting, you know what the most important feedback in the world is?
My wife's. What feedback?
That's the second most important. The most important feedback is the feedback you give yourself.
Yes. And that's true. Like you were talking about we've both done mentoring, coaching, but it's not what we're telling them. It's what do they take and what do they internalize, whether from us or getting them to think about a circumstance or scenario, and how do they feed back to themselves?
Yeah, because it starts with that. And so I'm doing this leadership and performance coaching certification class at Brown University. And I was thinking, when I'm coaching someone, I'm really coaching them to kind of become aware of blind spots they might have, or internal feedback, that internal critic. It's all about coaching them on understanding how they're giving themselves feedback. So it's kind of this way that you can start with yourself to become a high performing, person, and then expand to your team. And it's really, we have a systemic and data-driven approach to doing this. And it's really not that complicated. It just starts with capturing direct and indirect signals. So understanding that current state, which you can use, Viva Glint and Viva Pulse to do. Viva Pulse would be a direct signal. So that would be the person's responding, right? Viva Glint is the same. It's a direct response. But we have Viva Insights, which is that passive, indirect feedback that's just coming from how you're spending your time at work. That behavioral data that's also de-identified and aggregated. So taking those two pieces and then understanding kind of where we're at today, what are the opportunities to improve, and then taking that data-driven action and actually, you know, improving some things, changing some things, and then measuring what impact did that have? Did I get the desired outcome? And then you continuously do that, those kind of 3 steps. And that's all there is to it.
Yeah, and I love it. It really is not complicated. People try to make it complicated, but it can be just that simple. And it really does help with organization, especially for that feeling of belonging as well, because if I feel I'm actually being heard, right? Not just, oh, I'd fill this out and it goes into the ether, but there's actual, you know, communication of recognition of what's happening and then change that results. That's huge, right?
Yeah. Yes, people do need to be recognized, you know, for their work. And a manager, I was in a really cool HR session a few years ago, and a leader talked about like just one thing that managers could do starting right now that's literally free. And it's just checking in on their team like once a week on a one-on-one, 15 minutes. Hey, hey, how are you doing? What do you got going on this week? How can I help?
How can I help you? Right.
Yeah.
Growing up, I remember my dad was a principal, and he used to take me to, you know, once a month, he took me to school with him. And I got to sit, I'm going to get all choked. But the thing that one of the biggest things he taught me was you hire the best people you can for a job. And then your job as the leader is to support them, get out of their way, find out what they need, and make sure you know, remove the roadblocks so they can do what they need to do and let them go forth. And that's important. I think that that whole idea of feedback and leadership, like you're saying, that weekly basis, how can I help you? That's a big thing, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I know he was a great leader. That sounds really cool. That, you know, my manager Kara practiced that with us a few weeks ago in our first like kickoff.
Nice.
For the new year. And she talked about her, she's always, you know, managing people, leading people, and helping them thrive has been something that she's been really passionate about throughout her career. And she taught us this cool technique that we practiced, and it was really cool. It was called the feedback sandwich. And so we all took like 2 or 3 minute one-on-ones with each other. And what you do is you give some positive feedback, and then you give some constructive feedback, and then you give positive feedback again. And it was really neat. Yeah, it was a great exercise, and it was really team building, but then also gave like things that, well, I didn't realize, like things that my teammates really admired about my work. And so that was really great. And then also some things that I can work on to improve.
Yeah. No, that's great because it begins and ends with something that helps build you while also providing that some of that constructive guidance that you can
in a way
to.
that's really nice to consume, you know, so that it's kind of positive, helpful, positive again. So I might practice that with my kids.
Mine are too old to care about my feedback. So, but so
I doubt that.
Well, you know, so we have a couple of updates we want to make sure we hit because I'm at a hard stop in 5 minutes. But we do have a couple of very cool updates. First, do you want to talk about the Viva Insights Impact Dashboard?
Yes, we have this new dashboard, and it shows the business impact of different collaboration patterns and maybe issues. Like, so how much is, you know, too many meetings costing us? how much is, after hours work costing us? And it actually quantifies it and shows you in a dashboard, and it's refreshed weekly. So you can kind of dive in and see where the hot spots are in your organization and where the opportunities are for like low hanging fruit and to improve right away. So it's really nice that it's quantified. So I wanted to share that.
That's excellent. I know there's a couple of other things. One that I want to share, it's on the Copilot front, is we have, we're in the midst of all these customers. And again, I've never seen demand where so many customers actually have wanted to give us money to do what's essentially beta, right? Because it's early preview, but they recognize the transformational nature. But that's really about their data, right, within their own tenant and keeping that there. The question that often comes up in meetings, though, is what about external data? I want to do research and all that. Well, we already have had, for public consumption, anybody can open the Edge browser and access in the upper right corner, if they have that turned on, the little Bing icon that brings up the Bing AI, generative AI chat, where you can chat, you can ask it to construct emails, blogs, which is essentially a document like Word, things of that nature. But now we have it for the enterprise. And guess what? Guess what it costs our customers?
What? How much? Ooh, it's included in their Microsoft 365 subscription. That's so awesome.
Right? So we have that for enterprise. It is cool. It just lit up in my own Edge. You should check yours later. The first thing that came up, and it told me it's the new, for the enterprise. So we have that availability. So now you have that, in context of what you're doing type of activity for, within your tenant and domain with Copilot for Microsoft 365. But we also have now external research through that ability with the Bing generative AI for enterprise. And again, then that's controlled and administered, light up or not by your IT. So that's available. And and it does do a nice clear distinction, so you know where your data is coming from.
Yeah, that's great. And it has all that security and compliance capabilities, and it's all within the trust boundary, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Very cool.
Yes. So, and there's one last one that I wanted to highlight.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited to hear about this.
So this has nothing to do with Copilot. Tangentially, did I say tangent? I don't know. As a tangent to Viva, especially Viva Engage, we have a new tool, part of the new Microsoft 365 suite of things.
Will it help me? Because I'm trying to get better at posting in Viva Engage.
It will help you. So we've released now Clip Champ for Microsoft 365. It's in its first, again, the minimal viable product. You'll continue to see it evolve. It doesn't have all the necessarily all the features of the consumer version. We've had it for a number of years now. It allows you to do, like out in the consumer one, you can do with templates and stuff, quick video stuff for marketing and social and all that good stuff. But now if you go, it's slow rolling. And if your IT turns it on, when you're in OneDrive, in the upper left-hand corner, there's that plus sign to start like a new document. You see Word, Excel, PowerPoint. At the bottom, you'll see Clip Champ. And when you turn that on, it'll pop right up in a browser. It's a full-featured video editor. It'll allow you to do video capture from like webcams or any source that you have plugged in, as well as screen capture. It allows you to import multimedia, pictures, video, audio. It has transitions, all the good stuff, and then it saves that video right to your OneDrive for you to then share to your broader org and publish in Viva Engage.
I'm going to try that. I really am, because I want to, it sounds like I could look really professional.
Yes.
Without a lot of heavy lifting. Okay.
Without a lot of heavy lifting. So that's all I've got. Do you have any last
I hope everybody has a great weekend.
Yeah.
Stay safe, have fun, and start thinking about how you can become a high performer.
And since I know my spouse, my better half, watches our podcast, happy 34th anniversary.
Oh, yay. Happy anniversary. That's
So
amazing.
been with her longer than Microsoft. So with that, this is Mike.
This is Tyrelle.
And you all have a great day. Take care. And as always, ciao.
Bye. Thank you.